This changes everything for the Padres. The ownership debacle is one step closer to being resolved. That man right there, John Seidler, the new man in charge at the very top of the San Diego Padres. What's going on, everybody? I'm Christian Pedersen, back with another episode of Padres Digest. Before we dive into all the Seidler family drama and everything going on and how it affects the Padres, I got to remind you all to hit that subscribe button. We are trying to catch Dodgers Digest so that we can put good sort of beat LA vibes out into the world. Let's talk about it. Meeting today with the Major League Baseball owners, they unanimously approved John Seidler, the brother of Peter Seidler that you see right there, to be the new person in charge of the San Diego Padres. Bob Nightingale here reporting that it was unanimously approved by the ownership. What does this mean? This means good things, this means bad things, and this means nothing all at once. Let me break it down for you. The nothing that this means is that this is largely a formality vote compared to the fact that there is a lawsuit out there from Shildt Seidler, Peter's wife, on behalf of her and her children. This does not resolve that lawsuit. This is the baseball side of things. MLB, being a private company, has one sort of pool of authority. The courts have another one that has to deal with the trust that supersedes everything, and it's kind of complicated in what legal action could still happen from Shildt to get the Padres back. But this symbolically sort of means that baseball is 100% on John Seidler's side. That the baseball has voted saying, hey, John, team's yours. Let's start moving forward from all this. So the court in Texas, the probate court, is still going to go through the lawsuit, and we are still going to have that potentially play out. But for right now, for all intents and purposes, John Seidler, this man you see right here, who there are precious few photos of him even online. He is not nearly as public-facing of a person as his brother was during his brother Peter's tenure running the Padres. John Seidler is the new man at the very top of the Padres. I think that is not necessarily the interesting thing to come out of all of this. This one right here, part of the report from The Athletic about it was interesting to me, saying, quote, there has not been a single word or whisper of relocation in the context of the San Diego Padres. I say this as a Chargers fan. So, I'm from San Diego, born and raised here. I don't entirely buy that because Spanos told us, we're not moving, we're going to stay here, yada, yada. So I'm not going to believe this entirely. This was part of Shield's lawsuit. Initially is sort of trying to drum up support on her side, saying that, the brothers have even talked about moving the Padres out of San Diego. So I take everything with a grain of salt. I don't entirely believe it, but I do think that contextually speaking, the lawsuit may have been using that kind of language just to drum up social media clicks. Not saying fully clickbait, because you could read the lawsuit as saying, like, they might have thought about it. And I'm sure sometimes people think about, couldn't I make $1 trillion if we moved our team to Vegas or something like that? But to say that there are, from Manfred, from baseball, from the ownership that just approved unanimously the brother taking over the Padres, to say that there has not been any whispers or hints of the Padres relocating, I think that largely settles it, that it would take some sort of extraordinary change of course for that. So there is some good news in all of that. The medium to bad news is that this comes after us already missing out on Roki Sasaki, after an offseason where Jurickson Profar has left the team to go to Atlanta and has been quoted saying that things just, weren't quite right, the situation wasn't great with the front office. After Manny Machado has been quoted recently saying, hey, it's a kind of a bummer that you look up and you see all these guys signing elsewhere, and also that the ownership has said that they are looking to potentially shed contract status. So all of that being in the past, all of that being behind us, and, trying to look at this now silver lining and say, what does this benefit us having this resolved? We have at least a roadmap as to what is next. And what is next is apparently going to be, from everything that we can glean externally, and none of us are in there poking around in the Seidler's group conversations on their, texts, but what it seems is that the Padres are going to stay put, if not slowly de-escalate their salary. And that is going to be kind of an ebb and a flow because Manny, Fernando, some of the other guys that have decent mid-sized, like a Cronenworth type contracts, those numbers are going to keep going up over the next couple of years. So the team's salary, for all intents and purposes, will be going up, but it will be going up in a way that is not going up because they're signing this guy, they're adding this guy, they're extending this guy. So I think we now very seriously have to start watching what is the next move to happen. The Michael King contract extension was creative, and it was kind of interesting to, a little bit of money now, a little bit of money then. We'll get you the money that you want. We'll spread it out over, not doing full-on Dodger deferment, but I think it showed a willingness to be creative. And I think that we could hypothetically, if we're at a fork in the road right now, we're looking at one version of the next couple of months is that A.J. Preller is fully given authority to negotiate with King, Cease, and Arraez as the core backbone to support Manny and Fernando and Joe Musgrove and say, hey, look, you three, join with these three. Now we've got an elite team for the next 5, 10, whatever it is, years, however long some of these, sort of nonsensical contracts go. And we can negotiate this in a little bit up front, a little bit at the signing, a little bit incentive, a little bit defer. Like, we can try and get creative, or you will see a pretzel twisting level justification for, Michael King, we had to let him go. We weren't going to be able to hold on to him. Dylan Cease, we had to let him go. We weren't going to be able to hold on to him. Luis Arraez, he wanted too much money. We had to trade him, but we're getting all these prospects. All that should tell you is that they are only staying where they are right now because of contract levels going up. But in fact, they are actively subverting the Peter Seidler era of spin big, be big, play big. And we are going to see a regression that I think if you start to see that, then you'd be worried about Manny and Fernando going. Because ultimately those contracts are going to get into the extra 10, they're going to go up by tens, 15s of millions of dollars over the next 5, 10 years. So they are big time potential asset liabilities that, like, I'm not moving the panic meter up. We're still officially the Padres panic meter staying at 0.5 because there could be a long-term plan, and the Seidlers could have just been waiting for this whole vote from the owners and then a dismissal or a conclusion of the lawsuit, and they might have some master long-term plan. I could be coming back to you in a couple of weeks saying, hey, everything is good. But right now, I think you keep a really close eye on Michael King, Dylan Cease, Luis Arraez. If they stay past the trade deadline this year, or if they even make it close to the trade deadline this year, I think if the Padres are still in it, it's a good sign that long-term things will be coming. If we see the Padres have a skid or have the Dodgers go 15 games up 2 months in, I think you got to start to be really, really worried that this ownership group does not want to spend like Peter Seidler did. They might have the same last name, but they do not have the same intent from what I can tell. That, though, is just the informal. The no news is that really this largely was a symbolic vote, and it doesn't actually change anything. There's no new different players on our roster. There's no new different players on the Dodgers. Nothing has changed with the Phillies. The Mets are still this, like, the entire situation, baseball, actual operations-wise, has remained the same. And if anything, we now have a little bit of front office clarity, and we can hopefully, hypothetically, start, laser focusing in on those P's and C's reporting. That being all put aside, leave a little bit of panic in the background because we are a cursed franchise and there are occasionally just times where it seems like we can't have anything nice. Like I said at the start of this all, make sure you subscribe to Padres Digest because the P's and C's are reporting soon. We got tons of videos coming for you all season long. Make sure you subscribe so you don't have to go searching anywhere. We'll talk to you guys soon.